Hey guys, Luna popping in. Thank you so much for visiting my page or my channel. Wherever we are connecting, I appreciate you for being here. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe so that we will remain connected. It's been a while since I've given an update on my health because I haven't gotten all the I's dotted nor the T's crossed. So I'm just going to share with you what I know to date. Well, actually, let me back it up a little bit because I took a tumble on Sunday evening off of the swing. I was swinging with my grandson and he got super spooked over something and he kind of threw his body into me and I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't holding on. So I fell backwards out of the swing onto the ground and I hit my lower back and pelvis like really hard. So I have to contend with that pain as well. But I have been having issues getting my MRI for my hips and pelvis because I have been diagnosed with uh, necrosis. I forget the avascular necrosis, which means tissue death. And I am headed towards a hip replacement, at least the right side, which is more prominent than the left. The left could be included eventually, maybe down the line, but for right now, they're focusing on my right hip, thigh, knee area. And the joint replacement could even include my knee or knees. So there's a lot going on with my hips and my knees that we still haven't gotten the definitive answers to. But right now we're focusing primarily on my hips. I had an MRI scheduled and somehow or another the imaging center submitted my paperwork incorrectly. I was having two different scans done by two different doctors at one location. And somehow they submitted the information just totally incorrect under one doctor. And of course, it was the hip doctor. And bottom line, they haven't gotten that straightened out yet. And I'm still waiting to get the MRI so we can know what the next stage in this process will be. I saw him actually Tuesday, just a couple days ago, and it was right after I had my fall, and he gave me additional x-rays to make sure I hadn't broken anything. There were no hairline fractures, no breaks, nothing. But he told me I bruised my hips and exacerbated the avascular necrosis and the pain that's already associated with it. So my pain is I'm easy at a 7, steady, consistent, and it bumps up to an 8 if I do a little bit too much. So I've been dealing with a quite an uptick in pain these past couple of days. I also have been seeing the spinal surgeon uh, and got x-rays of that and have to have an MRI of my neck as well because the vertebrae in my cervical spine have begun to fuse together due to osteoarthritis, and they need to go in and separate the discs. I wish I could attach a picture. I'm not schooled enough to know how to do it on here and show you the images because I can even see it with but he showed me what to look for. And you look at it and you're like, wow, that's a lot of damage. So this particular surgery is a much more longer recovery process, which would be 4 to 6 months before I could even go to physical therapy. And I would have to be in a hard collar for probably 4 months before they would drop me down to a soft collar. But once we get farther along in that process, I'll have more accurate information to share about that. Right now, Yes, my spine hurts. It's very uncomfortable, but the pain is more pronounced in my hips and in my knees. So that is my primary focus. Is get this together. And in all honesty, I was almost hoping that it was a break or a fracture or something from the fall, because the pain was so intense that I just knew it had to be something that needed to be fixed immediately. But unfortunately and fortunately, because it's a good thing it wasn't a break, but it has just really, really intensified the pain, and I am quite uncomfortable. I haven't even talked about the tear in the rotator cuff. Oh, and I also have bone spurs in my cervical spine. I have bone spurs as well as the compression and the fusion of all that. There's a lot going on with my body. A lot of it was probably and most likely exacerbated by the nomad life. Me living solo and packing up all of that stuff and lifting those heavy ass 6 gallon jugs of water. If you guys are doing that, do not get the 6 gallon jugs. They're just too heavy. Get 5 or smaller. I thought I was doing something by getting something because it was larger, and it did me an actual disservice. And I'm sure, because every time I would carry the water, it would hurt me in my spine. So I know that aggravated it, at least. That's the least that it did. It aggravated it. It could have made it worse. I don't know, but it definitely irritated my spine. And with that, of course, and I still need to have my back needs attention. There's a lot going on with that, and they wanted to put the spinal cord stimulator, um, because they did do a procedure on my lower back a few months back, and it wasn't successful, which made them rule out this ablation. I forget the name of the type of ablation that it was, but it's not going to work because that pre-tested, so it was like a prerequisite to see if it would even work. And I was in pain as soon as before the anesthesia wore off. My back was, I was like, I can feel the injection sites. What the hell did you do? So the spinal cord stimulator was the next step. But because of my hip possibly needing to be replaced, the hip surgeon said, don't do anything with your spine because they will be in the way if we have to do the hip. So it's like, okay, which one are we going to do first? If I have my choice, I want my hips done because the pain is just crazy. This hurts. It really, really hurts, but not as badly as my hips. And my rotator cuff is tolerable. And I figured I wouldn't even have that done unless, I can't lift my arm or something. This isn't bad. I've had rotator cuff repair before, maybe back in 2011, 2012. And it's it's a painful surgery, but I also had a bone spur, and they like grind the sharp shards. They grind them down. It was so painful. It was insane. I wouldn't wish a bone spur on anybody. And now I have them in my neck. I have them in my spine. I can't even imagine how badly that's going to hurt. But I said all of that to say, guys, that it's pretty unlikely that I will be returning to the nomad life um, anytime soon, if at all, which is very, very sad for me because I really enjoyed the lifestyle. Was it hard? Absolutely. But it came with a sense of peace. And now I know I want to live in nature and amongst the birds and trees and not in the city. So that has been solidified in my spirit. I don't want to live in the city anymore, and I don't want to live in a big, obnoxious house. I want to live in a nice, small cottage in the woods where I can have my chickens and a cat and a dog, maybe, and my garden with my fruits and veggies, and maybe I don't know, maybe a goat or two, depending on how much grass there is, because I know goats eat the grass. But it's as hard as it is for me to accept that it is my reality. I have a chronically ill body And right now, my chronic illnesses are chronically illnessing. They are letting me know that, hey, slow down because you're hurting yourself. And I'm doing more damage or I've done damage to myself that I may have avoided if I wasn't living such a strenuous lifestyle. But I will be forever grateful that I got to cross that off my bucket list. And I'm not saying that I'll never do it again. I'm not saying that because I absolutely want to, but I just don't know. My body just isn't strong enough anymore for that, especially for me to do it alone. So now I have to figure out what my next course of action is. I try not to be too sad about it and just be grateful that I did have the opportunity to do what I've done. And I'm still not giving up on it because I don't know how the chips are going to fall or where they're going to fall. I don't know. I have no plan at this moment. Right now, it's for me to focus on healing and getting all the procedures that I need to do to get this body back together because it's struggling. It's damaged. It's my body's broken in a lot of ways. And it has to do with the chronic illnesses with the necrosis is probably associated with the Sjogren syndrome, which is autoimmune, and the combination of the high prednisone use, which when I was recently in the hospital for my lungs, they were giving me prednisone, and it started to increase the pain in my thigh and in my hip. So prednisone definitely is a trigger for more pain when it comes to necrosis, and it can be the culprit. So you want to be very mindful to get scans and bone density tests when you're taking prednisone because it can definitely have an effect on you. So with that, I'm gonna go. I just wanted to. I didn't. It was hard to make the video to say out loud that I don't think I will be able to go back to nomad life. But the reality of it is I probably, at least no time soon, if I have the surgeries that I need. I think the hip is not as bad. They do them like routine anymore. But the spinal one, that's going to be a doozy. And that's the long recovery period. And who knows, maybe I'll move and wait and hold off. I don't know. I don't have any plans other than they need to get these hips together because I'm in a lot of pain. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you for being here. Peace, love, and blessings. Luna out.